Hi, class. Good morning. We are on week 5, and can I just apologize for something really quick? So I'm looking at, of course, our syllabus and looking at all the things I need to do as far as grading. And I'm so sorry that the paper and this video were so close together. Granted, it's a reflection, so it's not meant to be super complicated, but I know it's probably a lot. There is discussion board 5 this week too. I didn't put one for week 4, but now I'm looking at all I have to grade. So, and just simultaneously, I'm teaching professional practice with for an online class, and they just had to submit their attending skills video. So I have a lot of videos to grade this week. So just so you know, I haven't forgotten about you. If we get midweek and I haven't finished grading your video, I promise. It's just a lot of videos I got to do. So just a heads up, not to be alarmed or be nervous. I'm gonna make it through them all. I promise. It's just gonna take me a little bit of time. Also, I wanted to say it was so great to see some of you in person this past week. I really enjoyed meeting you in person. I know this wasn't a traditional experience you were expecting, but to meet some of you and put some faces with some names was so nice at the practicum luncheon. So that was so great. So thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing some of your faces in the videos as well. And hopefully we don't run into any major conflicts with just technology and how that all worked for you. I know some of the people I got to meet in person were saying how nervous they are, and I'm sure you all did fantastic. And I know it's more nerve-wracking recording something that's going to be seen versus just doing therapy. And so I apologize for any nerves or stress that this may have caused, but I definitely think this is for our benefit. I know 45 minutes is a long time, especially when it's not a real group. But you may have even noticed that some of your group members, even though it's fake, they may have learned something or gained something from the experience. So, anyways, I won't keep you too long on this lecture because you have so much going on. But we're just going to talk about the important factors with group and just membership issues. Depending on the type of group you decide to have, whether it be an open group or closed group, there's going to be some interviewing and things of that nature. We're probably going to go over this some more in the second textbook that you have for this class. By the way, we're not halfway done, but we're like a fourth of the way done, which is so exciting. We're on week 5 pretty soon. I know you guys have a spring break and that week will be off. But we're whittling away at things. You're getting through the Yalom book, which is great. Which is some foundational material for group. And like 2 of the bigger assignments are getting out of the way, which is great. So yay you. Which will probably be kind of nice to lead into your spring break with some of the bigger things out of the way. But setting up a group and knowing the kind of things that you want for your group is really important, and the type of group that you're having, just so you're prepared and it has the right structure and balance that it needs. Sometimes you might have to do some sort of interviewing to determine who's a good fit for your group. Other times it's more open, and so you really may not, every week it could be a different person. And so, with that being said, there's different expectations, and so making sure as a group leader you're clear on what your expectations are before you establish the expectations will be good. Not to say sometimes in group there aren't maybe an expectation that you establish and later you come back to establish it, but more than likely you want to have all of that taken care of ahead of time. That's ideal. And so as we're looking at this, punctuality, making sure that your group members know what's expected of them as far as if they can miss or not miss. We want to develop a routine or structure. And so even like I know I keep going back to this, but even like an AANA meeting, they start usually the same. The reality is those meetings are held all over the world. So there's not, you can't have it be like 100% the same, but there's foundational elements to each group that reciprocity. I always mess up that word. If someone says it, I can say it, but I always mess it up. But the reciprocal nature of the group. So it's like it starts away. There's language that's used that's the same. The format is the same. Again, the person doing it might be a little different. The leaders are all different, obviously, but there's a format. There's something that's similar. So no matter where you go in the world and go to one of those groups, there should be an element that's the same. right? And that brings people comfort, that brings people a routine, that brings people structure. There's like kind of a way, the way things are done, and that there's some good in that, like, right, we want to respect, like, this is the way we handle things, this is the way we do things. I think there's some importance in that for a lot of people. And so being that we want to be people who are part of, developing that structure and routine as group leaders for our groups, even if our groups are more open, not as topic structured. We want to make sure that we have, some similarities. I think people thrive in routine, whether they can develop them themselves or not is a whole other topic, but I think people in general thrive in routine. And so we want to be those people that can create that for them. Anyways, just some thoughts. So being mindful of that, and like being able to be clear on expectations from the beginning. And maybe that's something, some groups go over group rules like every week. Some groups don't, you'll have to determine how you want to format that. But making sure group members know those things is essential. Okay. So making sure too, like expectations, like if they keep missing, like, does that mean that they automatically can't be in the group anymore? It kind of messes with the jive of building rapport and trust if people are like in, out, especially if it's a more structured group. If it's more of an open group, then you're going to have different people all the time, and you have that, that. But if it's a very structured group and it's like week 1, week 2, week 3, that like every week is building on each other, you can't have people showing up, not showing up, especially in those court mandated type groups. You can't have that kind of behavior because you're not getting all the material. And the whole point of you being there is to get the material, those kinds of situations. So making sure that you, as a leader, are mindful of those things is really important. And making sure, because again, you don't want people to feel like they can't open up because someone's a part of the group that wouldn't normally be there, And those are the kinds of things that can happen with people, right? Or maybe it's just not a good time for them, or maybe they're just not ready for being part of a group. And so you want to make sure that they're aware of the boundaries. Part of modeling in group is boundaries, right? Showing people what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. People sometimes don't know those things totally on their own. Now, depending on the nature of the group, it's easier maybe to determine some of those things. Maybe based on the nature of the group, that makes it more complicated. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure group members are aware of what's expected of them. Okay. New members. Some groups are going to allow new members. Other groups are not going to allow new members. So making sure that again, the basic standard for your group, how you introduce that person into the group, how they welcome themselves. Again, going over group rules, those kinds of things is important. So that, again, it doesn't mess with any sort of development that's coming from the group. It doesn't mess with confidentiality or as far as rapport building. You want that to be, that's important and pivotal. So sometimes there might not be a good time. Now, if you're in a more of a treatment center type setting, you're going to have turnover all the time. People in, people out. There might be a process that once people have reached a certain place, they're able to exit out of a program. And so maybe there's some like special graduation thing the group gets to do to celebrate. And I think that's some of the nice part of group is having people who've like walked ahead, people who are at the beginning, maybe people who are at the middle. And so there establishes some level of hope for clients. And I think that that's something that you can't get necessarily just from one-on-one therapy. And so to be able to see that all within a group, I think can be hope building. I remember having someone in one of my courses and they work with AIDS clients. And so AIDS, HIV. And so in this group, there was people who'd been living with HIV for a long time, people who just got diagnosed. And so having the people who have been through that process of like getting the news and now living a life after that news was able to bring hope to people who just got that diagnosis, right? Very scary for them. But like to see someone who's walking through, who knows how to deal with insurance companies, who knows how to get the medications, who knows all those things, very, very helpful, very, very helpful. And I think it, again, gives hope and instills hope. And an installation of hope is so important in group, as far as like for the group as a whole, like to build and grow and the group to develop. That hope is really beneficial and supports it helps with supporting one another. I think that's where clients get the most out of it, is when they feel like hopeful to change, hopeful for the future, hopeful to get out of this situation, to learn. Hope is a beautiful thing, and hope doesn't always have to be a beacon of light. Hope sometimes is just the flickering of a candle. It's just you're in a dark space and there's a little bit of light, but that little bit of light is enough to keep you going. And so knowing someone's like, I've been you, like, I know my situation is not the same, but I've been you and here I am, so you can do it, and having someone believe in you other than yourself is huge. Very, very huge. So I don't want to keep you too long. I know you guys have a lot going on. But again, a lot of great information about the impact of clients and group development. Clients, there can be a lot of behavioral things that we're going to have to address in addressing conflict. And people who over dominate in group. We've all been in groups probably with people who talk too much, probably even been in class with people who talk too much. And you're just like, I wish the professor could put this person in check. Class is a little different than group. But we all know there's those people in the world. And so being able to say, I appreciate you sharing. Let's let someone else have an opportunity to share, is important, because we want everyone to have room to speak. And the group is not just about one person, it's about the whole group. So being able to demonstrate that is important. And again, it's not to be negative or to try to not be supportive of somebody else, but it's just allowing space for other people. That's important. And for their struggles and for what's going on for them, and, being heard and understood. It's important for people to feel the opportunity to be heard and understood. And if someone is dominant, they're not going to hear, their voices aren't going to be heard. And people usually come to therapy and come to things like this because they don't feel like they have a space for that. And so we want to make sure we're creating a safe space for that. So anyways, great information. Enjoy it. Chapter 10. I hope you're all well. If you have questions about the videos or your papers, just let me know. I'll be working on them diligently. Have a fantastic week.